Or no, I added the Walmart that's over there.
Well, I thought you were going to do the one by Costco, not the one we just passed on the way. You don't know what you
I don't know what the fuck just happened. I almost blacked out. Huh? No.
Oh, baby.
I added fucking Walmart after Costco. You
So
motherfucker.
it's taking you to...
Or no, I added the Walmart that's over there.
Well, I thought you were going to do the one by Costco, not the one we just passed on the way. You don't know what you
I don't know what the fuck just happened. I almost blacked out. Huh? No.
Oh, baby.
Cell phones make this so much easier.
Yeah, especially from back in the day, for sure.
There's not a whole lot of he said, she said anymore.
I know.
Not that I don't trust you or anything, but you know.
It makes it a lot easier, to be honest. all right, y'all. Welcome back to another Triple with the Smiths video. This is a recap, share situation.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that. Recap or share. This is something that happened almost a year ago, and it kind of sent our last year, 2023, spiraling out of control into not a great year. As you saw in the clip, there was an accident, and that accident was caused by me passing out at the wheel. You see me talking in there, and then you see me tip over, and I passed out, and fortunately we were driving slow, so it wasn't a tragic accident, but the accident totaled the Jeep. It broke the front axle, a little bit of cosmetic damage on the fender, and the insurance adjuster said that it bent the frame as well. I'm kind of skeptical of that. I think they just wanted to sell it for salvage, but we ended up with the total Jeep. And it wasn't a fun experience, especially the medical side of it. You know, the total Jeep, not a big deal, but why the hell did I pass out? That was the big deal. And I've been through a battery of tests that test everything to do with my cardiovascular system and lungs and all that. Come back clean. I've not had another episode. Talked to multiple doctors. They say it's a vasovagal syncope or syncope or whatever they want, however you want to pronounce it, and that it's actually fairly common. It just doesn't happen to people when they're behind the wheel that often. But if it does, it sucks to be you. So yeah, that was the accident that totaled the Jeep and put us into rental cars forever, because we didn't want to buy just a Jeep off the lot. We had special ordered that Jeep, and we wanted to special order another Jeep. And as a result, we had to wait a long time for the Jeep to be built. We put the order in, was it April, May? I think it was May. We put the order in May, and we were expected to get the Jeep sometime in August or September. And in the meantime, we had to figure out what to drive. Any comments on the accident?
As you can see, I was very scared and worried. I'm thankful that the speed we were going, a slow speed, because we were slowing down the turn. I'm glad that we actually didn't get on the highway and it occurred before the highway. That's pretty much it. I'm just very grateful that it wasn't a worse situation.
Yeah, I mean, for passing out behind the wheel, it wasn't a terrible accident. I didn't drive for like a month afterwards just because I was scared to. We stayed where we were, and then we kind of slowly eased back into driving, and we didn't see anything happening, and there were no more episodes or even close episodes, so eventually we resumed driving.
Yeah.
So that takes us to how we ended up with a Bronco.
Did you have your notes?
I do have
Nice.
notes.
I like it.
That takes us to how we ended up with a Bronco and the disaster that the Bronco turned into. So as I mentioned, the ordering time frame for the Jeep was several months, and I was antsy to find another vehicle, and I was kind of interested in Broncos, so I went and looked at Broncos, and I liked the way they drive. They were comfortable, slightly bigger inside, but really I liked the way that the 2.7 liter turbo drove. I mean, you push on the gas and the sucker goes, unlike Jeeps, unless you get a 392 Jeep. And I sold or badgered Candace on the idea of getting a Bronco. I might have badgered her into it. She still wanted a Jeep, but I wanted to check out the Bronco. So after...
Imagine that.
What's that?
Imagine that.
So after a month or two of looking, because everybody at that time, remember, this is last summer, not now when you can get a Bronco on a good deal. Last summer, all the dealers had anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 dealer markup on Broncos. And I thought that was crazy. I wasn't going to pay it. So after about 6 weeks of looking and driving rental cars, paying for rental cars at today's rental car prices, we finally found a Bronco that they weren't too high on the dealer markup. They were only going to go $2,500 on the dealer markup. And I was tired of driving rental cars. And it was a loaded Bronco. Thought it would be great. Went and bought it. Enjoyed driving it for 3 weeks, right? That's about what it ended up being. Three or 4 weeks.
Total before, okay, you get into that part.
We're getting to that part. What did you think of the Bronco when we bought it?
It was comfy. It was cushy. It felt bigger than the Jeep, although they bought the same size. Maybe it was higher. I don't know. The seat, it was fun to drive and enjoyable. And we'll get to the rest of it. That's what I got to say about it. I love that it was red because I like red in a vehicle. Or was it red?
Yeah, it was red and black.
Red and black. The nostalgia of Broncos, all that kind of stuff. That was really cool. But it just was not. It's not a Jeep.
So we got the Bronco, and we picked it up in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. We were in Colorado Springs at the time. We stayed there for a couple weeks. We set it up to tow behind the RV, and that's where we started running into our first, not issues per se, but just hassle, right? With Jeep Wranglers, there's every product under the sun to get it ready to double tow. It's pretty much plug and play. It's easy. The Bronco required more work, more effort. There's not nearly as much information about towing it, and there's not nearly as many accessories for towing it. So while we got it set up to tow behind the RV, it was a bit of a hassle. It wasn't quite as easy as the Jeep. And that was primarily on me. I don't think Candy has any thoughts about that.
Yeah. What, the towing?
Just setting it up.
Yeah.
No, there wasn't really much. Right?
It seemed like more of a headache. I will say that. Was it more of an issue?
It was more of a headache. The hooking up the lighting, that was kind of a pain in the butt, so I just ran wiring to the back hitch where we put the bike rack on and completely skipped the Bronco's lighting, which turned out to be a good thing, I think, in the end. But we just went straight from the RV to the bike rack, skipped the Bronco, and then we used the front tow hooks on the modular bumper for actually towing behind the RV. We bought the correct adapters for that and set it up. And we left Colorado and it towed fine. I mean, there was minor issues here and there as we towed across the country to South Carolina, but they were relatively minor, not really worth mentioning. It just wasn't as easy as the Wrangler. The Wrangler is hook up, put it in neutral, put the transfer case in neutral, put the transmission in park and go. The Wrangler is like no thought whatsoever making it go. The Bronco, little did we know, little did I research when I bought it, everything on it's electronic, which means it's got an electronic transfer case, it's got electronically controlled transmission, which just about everybody has nowadays. It's got an electronic motor that engages and disengages the transfer case, and it has electronic brake boost, so it doesn't have your traditional hydraulic brake boost. The brakes, the rear brakes are electronic emergency brakes, so it's got a whole bunch of electronic dependencies. There's zero mechanical connections or mechanical engagements on a 2.7 liter with the advanced transmission. It's all electronic. Everything is electronic on it. So you've got a process you've got to go through that's not really intuitive, but the directions are on the screen. You've got a process you've got to go through to put it into neutral tow mode, and then another process to take it out of neutral tow mode. We managed to do just fine getting it across the country. And when we left South Carolina, we went to South Carolina for our daughter's wedding. And when we left to South Carolina, we drove from South Carolina to Pensacola. And when we got to Pensacola, at night, so it's dark. We pulled into the campground, disconnected the Bronco. It wouldn't come out on neutral tow. So here we are sitting with a Bronco that will not come out of neutral tow mode, which means it won't engage the transmission or transfer case, which means that we can't go anywhere with it. So how did we get the Bronco to our campsite that night? Do you remember?
No, pushed it in.
We pushed the Bronco to the campsite that night. Yay! We're dealing with a vehicle that's got less than 2,000 miles on it. We've owned for roughly a month, and we're pushing the sucker to the campsite because it won't disengage neutral tow. And at that point, I started hunting the forums, the Bronco forums, with the specific words, neutral tow transmission issues, won't disengage neutral tow. And when you've got the right words, you find all the right threads that say, hey, there's a lot of people out there having problems with the 2.7 liter automatic Ford Bronco in neutral tow. Basically, and nobody has been able to give any of us owners, I say us owners, I don't own one anymore. Nobody's been able to give an explanation of why, but when it's in neutral tow, on occasion, it just decides that it doesn't like neutral tow anymore. And it blows up the transmission, sometimes the transfer case. In our case, it took out the transmission, the transfer case, and the motor that puts it into and out of neutral, the motor that actually moves the gears in the transfer case. So here we are sitting with roughly $10,000 to $14,000, depending on the dealer, worth of damage on this Bronco. And again, with the right words, the right searches, we found the neutral tow issues in the forums and the Facebook groups. And while we were doing that, I found out that it was about a 50-50 shot whether or not Ford would cover the repair. Some Ford dealerships were blaming it on the owner, even though the owners were insisting, I followed all the procedures exactly. We followed all the procedures exactly. In fact, it was stuck in neutral tow, which I think is what made them cover ours under warranty. It was hard to say that we didn't put it in neutral tow mode correctly because it was stuck in neutral tow. But of the people that had issues, about 50-50 had to pay for the damage themselves. And the kicker is that nobody at Ford could say why it destroyed itself. Nobody at Ford could say, all right, you didn't do this, right? They couldn't say, this is what caused the issue. In fact, when I went to the Ford dealer to pick up our Bronco in Daphne, Alabama, I forget what the name of the Ford dealer there is.
Yeah, I don't recall.
I'll put it in the link in the comments below, but they did a good job because they fixed it. It took them...
Caption.
Yeah, in the caption. It took them a month to fix this thing. So again, we're back in a rental car, waiting for our stuff. Ford didn't pay for the rental car, by the way. Oh no, they didn't do that for us. So
they did a couple.
They paid
weeks.
for 10 days of rental car, I think is what they paid for. Or maybe it was 7 days. So we ended up having to come out of pocket again, paying for rental cars. But when I went to the dealer and the service manager to pick it up, and I asked them, hey, what caused this to happen? And they're like, we don't know.
Idea.
We can't tell if you put it in neutral tow correctly or not. We don't know why it engaged the transmission in the transfer case while it was being towed. We just know that we can't prove it was you, so we paid for it. And that's fortunately, the outcome we had. Do you have any? You can see I'm really irritated about this. Like
no,
I
you
wanted,
said it all.
Yeah.
Nothing more to say. Just overall frustrating experience. Should have stayed in it. Shouldn't have just went back to a Jeep.
Yeah, we should have just went back to a Jeep immediately.
Right off the bat.
But I really wanted this thing to work, but it was just so much money involved. And then we had to sit here and think about every time if we were to keep it, every time we put it into neutral tow mode and put it behind our trailer, well, is this the day that it grenades again? And are we going to get a dealer that will actually fix it under warranty, or do we get to foot the $10,000 bill?
Yep.
And odds are really high that we would have to foot the $10,000 bill because it would be the second time and already seeing that 50-50 shot of having to pay the bill anyways. So we really just, at that point, we didn't want anything to do with the Bronco anymore.
Okay. Yeah.
So We had ordered a Jeep previously. We put a $500 down payment on it, which would be refunded to us once they sold the Jeep if we didn't go through with the order. The Jeep came in September-ish. And we had a bunch of stuff going on, so we finally managed to make it up to get the Jeep, I think at the end of September, early October.
Something like that.
And we've got pretty much a carbon copy of the previous Jeep that we had. You know, the 2024 models have a nicer or a better rear axle, and they come with the option to put a winch on the front by the factory. So we did that, but by and large, oh yeah, they have electric seats now. So we got electric seats in our new Jeep Wrangler. Yay! And now we had a trade-in. We had ordered from a budget dealer in Maryland, Ursman, Chrysler, Jeep, whatever they are, CJDR, and drove up there from Pensacola in the Bronco, traded in the Bronco on the Jeep, took a huge loss because the car market is softening at this point, and it's a used Bronco that, you know, we made one payment on. So we took a loss on that, and then turned around and drove the Jeep back to Pensacola, Florida. 3 days, right? And it was a long drive. Candace stayed home with the dogs. So we got back, and I will say one huge surprise I had in doing that was I drove the Bronco for 16 hours one way and drove the Jeep for 16 hours the other way. Surprisingly enough, while the Bronco had better road manners, the Jeep seats were more comfortable to me. So at the end of the day, it was more comfortable to sit in the Wrangler long term than it was in the Bronco. Bronco, still to this day, I'll say, is way more fun to drive on the road. But with all that electronic stuff and the issues that we had, I would be terrified to pull it behind a trailer, and I would be terrified to be 10 or 15 miles off-road and then have some type of problem. And if you go through the Bronco forums, there's multiple people that talk about carrying a computer with Ford software on it to reset their Bronco off-road in case something goes wrong, because it's got a lot of electronics on it. So we're back in a Jeep. I think we're happy with the Jeep. We've towed the Jeep from Key West to Michigan, all the way over to Arizona and up to Utah so far. Not an issue one. It works flawlessly. And it's just easy. So we will stick with the Jeep, and I don't know if we'll ever touch a Bronco again. It really, really, really put a bad taste in our mouths.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. So look in the caption below. Look in the comments. Caption, whatever you want to call it.
You're right. Leave it.
No, I'm saying look in the caption.
Yeah.
I'll put a couple links to some threads on Bronco forums, so that if you're interested in towing a Bronco, flat towing a Bronco, you can go do your research. I tried to do my research beforehand. I asked in all these threads and groups, hey, tell me what's good and what's bad about flat towing a Bronco.
Yeah.
Not one person said the transmission issue. There was a lot of people that talked about brake issues, which supposedly has been fixed by software updates, but not one person mentioned a transmission. But once I had the right words to search on, we got the transmission problem. So I'll put the links in there. Do your own research. I know that this affects the 2.7 with the automatic. I think if you get the 2.3 that has hydraulic boosted brakes and a clutch, you have to push the clutch to take it in, or to put it into neutral tow, and you have to push the clutch to take it out of neutral tow. So there's a manual thing that has to happen. I think you might be safe with those. So my recommendation from my limited experience would be, hey, if you want to flat tow a Bronco, 2.3 liter engine, manual transmission, and you should be better than the 2.7 liter with the automatic transmission, especially the advanced automatic transmission. Not a fan, would not ever touch it again, ever.
Okay, baby, this is going to be a 50-hour video.
Candace is worried that we're making the video too long, but I just want to get the information out there.
I hope he kept your attention and y'all listen all the way through.
This is good information if you want to flat tow a Bronco.
Yeah.
If you don't want to flat tow a Bronco, it's useless to you.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that the 2024 Jeep is nicer than the 2023 Jeep. Yay.
So, Bronco or the Jeep? I'm going to say Jeep Wrangler. Okay, y'all, thanks for watching. If you got any questions about the situation, drop them in the comments. All the info will be in the caption that Jeff said he was going to put in there. give us a thumbs up, turn on the notification bell because we back on weekly videos consistently, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching.